podcast at premium_FPL on Twitter. We are here to review the triple game week that never was, unless you had Mason Greenwood, depending on the game tomorrow night. But everyone else, it's pretty much a double game week in the end. But here to review the good and bad of that game week is Mindy. Hopefully he's a bit cheery this week.
Well, you should be the cheerful one this week. Were you one of the 12 City fans celebrating at the stadium last night?
They set us up there, BT. They had a full camera and everything. And I was like, who's going to be... No one's going to be there on a Tuesday night waiting for United to get beat by Leicester. We're not all out, not all saddles out the ground trying to get games postponed. Some of us just watching our own.
I think there's more to be said there, but let's crack on with let's get on with this. The triple game week was unlucky for Maguire, people.
All right, nice one.
Very unlucky. But I just although maybe you should have predicted, like, he was due an injury after having played every minute for United since it's been maybe you could have predicted that.
Yeah.
It's still sore by the sounds of it.
Shocking. Even worse is I brought out Azpilicueta thinking he might get the City game just because it's obviously that's a tougher game, and then get rested against Arsenal, and then he got an assist in that game anyway. So yeah. Great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to have any sympathy for you, given that you told me I had to get rid of Alonso and to bench Dalla, and they both scored. So
it was a bit of an unusual game. No one really delivered who you.
Well, there were predictable returns in some places. It's just the single game week play. It always happens, though, doesn't it? There's always a couple of high-owned single game week players who score, and it's just annoying. It's one of those things. And I think looking back at that, if I'd thought about it a bit more, because I remember texting you saying I need to make my decisions at a beer garden, because I was at a brewery last Friday at 4:30, and I was just weighing up what to do, and I was.
Do you drink? Do you? What a lad!
Yeah, I mean, playing Dallas over Rudiger probably would have made sense, because Rudiger's probably only going to get one game anyway, with the amount of rotation at Chelsea. So yeah, it's a little bit annoying, but yeah, one of those things. Do you what were you ever talking about? I guess Aguero's penalty in that Chelsea game, gifting us Mendy owners with a penalty save.
Well, we're going to talk further in depth, but yeah, I was all over the Aguero shout last week, but that's put me off a bit. I've kind of drawn a bit to it back just because we've sewn the title up now, so maybe there is a bit of sentiment there that Pep can do, but he kind of takes things personally, doesn't he, Pep? And I don't think that would have gone down well.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think of his public apology?
It's one of them FIFA apologies, isn't it? When you get beat 5-0.
Well, I thought it was good that he at least showed some integrity and apologized. Whereas, for example, when you've done your U-turns, you've just come on here and showed no remorse, not even.
Well, I don't have a multi-million-pound PR company backing me, so I don't have that. He's not tweeting that out, is he?
What else? Well, I'm running through the game week here. You're just sitting there offering nothing.
I thought we'd mix things up this week, considering that's what you do most of the time. We're obviously going to look ahead to the blank in 36. You'd think keepers is probably the safest position in previous years, but that's almost become the problem point heading into the last 3 games, so that'll be interesting. And we'll run through the best captains now, because there's 3 game weeks left, so there's not much to run through there. So hopefully you can make a bit of ground, whether you want to go for a differential captain or not. But yeah, looking back at the previous game, like I said in intro, Mason Greenwood was probably the standout. And then obviously Calvert-Lewin got a goal, and he plays again tomorrow night. So we're recording this on Wednesday. So there's still Chelsea, Arsenal, Villa, Everton, United, Liverpool to go, which will be interesting. And I'm not expecting much from Diogo Jota. So that'll be interesting going forward because he didn't play too great at the weekend, and I don't think he'll play against United. So yeah, that's probably.
Oh yeah, we should probably say we're recording Wednesday at 5:45. So we're recording before Chelsea Arsenal on the Wednesday evening.
Yeah, even team news. Yeah, so we won't get any team news while we're recording. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of team he puts out there. Whether he wants to get top 4 sewn up really quick, Tuchel, or kind of rest the players ahead of the FA Cup final.
So you don't think you're not hopeful with Jota's chances against United on Thursday? Why is that?
I just think when this game was first before the postponement, the teams actually got announced, didn't they? And Jota wasn't in that team. Firmino was in it. So, and he's obviously not strengthened his claims at the weekend. And Klopp always likes to play Firmino in the big games, regardless of form. So I'll be very surprised if Jota's starting tomorrow.
Do you right? Yeah. Well, I was going to go on something else about Salah there, but we'll save that for a bit later. So yeah, you've given the running order. Is there any other admin we need to get out of the way? Friday deadline.
You got a day turnaround, which is interesting. And then also the next game week comes pretty quick, doesn't it? On Tuesday. So whether we record one on Monday or so we've definitely got another podcast in us, but whether we get another one out of it as well.
Well, I mean, at least this current podcast that we're recording now will have longer shelf life than the one we did last week, which was out of date 10 minutes after we recorded.
We hadn't even saved it and it already out of date. So yeah.
We'll have to make sure we check the official Premier League Twitter just before we stop recording on this one, just to check they've not announced anything else. So at least we can cover it for a few minutes in case they've suddenly announced Gameweek 38 has now been brought forward or something stupid like that.
Yeah, or golden goal for every game in like Gameweek 38 or something.
Right, so let's crack on. What are we attacking first?
So I'll run through my team that I'm going to clip up. So yeah, I'll run through my team now, timestamp it. So I'm overall rank 3,073 going for, obviously I want to try and hit that 1K over the last few weeks. I've done a few videos now. And it was going really well at the weekend until kind of Greenwood hit his form really, and Greenwood's kind of cost me. At one point I was about 1,800, which was great, but then Greenwood took over. Obviously he get around 18 points this week, which is crazy. He's still got one game to play, so that he's probably really hammered my rank there. Going through my players that I did have, Mendy 11 points. Obviously that penalty save was bittersweet as a City fan, but a Mendy owner. So obviously I wanted Aguero wouldn't score that, but to get 11 points from Mendy was quite good against the grain, where there wasn't too many points from popular goalkeepers this week. Maguire won, so my transfer in for Aspilicueta was a complete Mindy fail. So it's good to have a bit of Mindy's luck spreading across my team this game week. Trent 7. We've both bigged up Trent for the past few weeks, and he's probably the standout defender the last 3 games. Liverpool got to really go for it. Shaw 2, but they got Liverpool. Shaw's kind of defying, like badly, he's kind of defying his FPL potential, because every game you watch him, you think he's going to get an assist or a goal. He had a couple of shots on target at the weekend, and then he's just not delivering his points. But you kind of, I know there's only 3 games left, but hopefully one of those games he might get a monster haul, but who knows. And then Bob Holding 2 conceded against West Brom, which I thought was nailed on clean sheet, so that was a bit good. And then I got Chelsea. I'm not expecting too much from there. Bruno captain 22, still got Liverpool to play. No shot there. I think everyone had him. Salah.
You say everyone had him. Some people went without him.
Without Bruno?
Yeah. So some people, because some people got rid of him for like a Son or a Bale a week
ahead of the triple. Oh right, yeah.
And then they were probably looking at it like, well, I'd have to take a hit to get him in for this triple, and then he's got a blank, and then so it's a hit to get him out. So I know, like, for example, the black box lot. Don't want to be plugging rival podcasts, but yeah, there were
Black
some.
box lot sounds like The Office, the Swindon lot.
Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, I'll let you crack on with the rest of your take.
No, and then Jota talked about. I'm in a bit of a tricky situation with Jota because he doesn't play against United. You kind of think he's going to play the weekend game, which is it West Brom. So you kind of want to keep him, but he's locking you out of another Liverpool slot there. Obviously, Mane got a goal at the weekends, and he looked really good. So it'll be interesting to see that going forward. Son 7. I thought I made the right decision to not go Greenwood, but then obviously Greenwood took over. But you can't argue with that. Son 7 with 2 good fixtures, and then obviously Leicester, the last game of the season, and then Kane 2, bit annoying, but most people have Kane, and then Iheanacho 9, which for a double and the form is in, you kind of expect him to get more than that, but you can't really. If you've had Iheanacho the past few weeks, you can't really argue. Looking ahead to
not for that price.
No, you can't. Looking ahead to my transfers, I'll start with Iheanacho actually. So he's probably the one that I'm looking to get out this week, just because there's a lot of good forwards emerging now for those last 3 games. You've got Calvert-Lewin, you've got Antonio, Bamford. You've even got Chris Wood, who's got a great fixture in 38 against Sheffield United. So you kind of...
Chris Wood's actually... So just to add some credence, some stats to what you're saying, over the last... not that I have to, because, you know, you're 3K ranked. Not saying that...
So you had a bit of credibility to what I'm saying.
But yeah, over the last 6, he's 3rd for expected goal involvement, Wood, behind Kane and Salah.
Right, he had a great goal on Monday. Yeah,
he tried like a pirouette as well, like on the outside of the box, like Prime Ibra, and then just lashes one in. It's just he's on that like vein of form that Iheanacho and Lingard were in. Like it's definitely on it.
The thing that draws me to Wood as well, if he does play well next 2, he's kind of an easy transfer from Calvert-Lewin, because Calvert-Lewin's got a great next 2 fixtures, Sheffield United and Wolves defence doesn't look great at the moment. So you kind of have Calvert-Lewin for them 2 and then get him out. If your team looks good elsewhere, you kind of take Calvert-Lewin out for Wood for that last game against Sheffield United. So that's actually what I'm looking to do this week. I'm going to put Iheanacho to Calvert-Lewin with that Wood transfer in mind in 38. I had a look at my team.
The interesting thing about that is the Sheffield United hunting philosophy, because they're just, I think they're
bad.
They're in the top 3 or something for expected goals conceded. So yeah, it's definitely a ploy to because the transfers now are so precious, like 3 left. So using them to target one of the worst defenses in the league makes sense. So yeah, Calvert-Lewin and Wood, from that point of view, they do sound like good planned moves.
Yeah, and that Sheffield United team got beat 2-0 off Palace at the weekend, which looked absolutely shocking against Southampton. Now they started off well, but it didn't look up to much. Look on the beach, and there's about 40 players out of contract at the end of the season, so there's going to be a lot of change at Palace, which will be interesting going forward. So yeah, that's going to be my transfer, Iheanacho to Calvert-Lewin, but I've got to afford it somehow. So it's going to be Maguire out. So he was in for 1 week, in for a triple game week, 1 point. See you later. Thanks for coming. And that'll leave me with 4.4. And I'm a bit undecided as to who to go for at the moment. It's looking like it might be Tyreek Mitchell. I know I've talked about Palace not being too great, but they've got Villa in 36, and he's playing every game at the moment. So it would either be him or a Leeds defender, but I kind of don't want to double up with Dallas. So it'd be Ayling or Alioski. I'm trying to think. There's no one really at that price point. It's a bit of a shit price point, 4.4 for a defender. You're not really going to get too much. I kind of just need someone with a good game week in 36 to get me through it.
I think, but Leeds' fixtures are better than Palace's, right?
Yeah, so that's what the only thing that might sway me against. I know I'm not planning on bringing in Bamford and Rafinha, but you lock yourself out of getting them 2 if you wanted them at any point. But yeah, has Ayling got an attacking return this season?
No, he's not.
So Alioski might be more.
It's funny to look back to the start of the season, and it was like a big debate, wasn't it? Dallas versus Ayling. I think we didn't know how much Dallas was going to play in midfield back then, to be fair. But I think if I was in your position, I'd be looking at Leeds, rather than, because is Mitchell even nailed on? Like, Arnold?
I think he's played the last 4 or 5 now. I think it's Van Arnold's out of contract, so just trying to give Mitchell as much time as possible. But yeah, he's played 2 in 3 days. Well, am I right in saying that? Did they have a fixture for Saturday? Yeah, so they obviously played Saturday, Tuesday, 2 and 3. So whether he gets that game again at the weekend will be interesting. So maybe I will go for that Leeds defender. Way up. I think it's either Llorente, Alioski, or Ayling. So yeah, it just means that I won't be able to get Rafinha and Bamford, but we've only 3 games left. Well, 2 after this game week. Probably won't be bringing in both anyway. So yeah.
Would you be playing this defender in game weeks 37 and 38 or not?
No, just 36.
Right. Okay. Oh, so the fixtures don't actually really matter that much then, actually.
No, it's just 36.
Right. And would the money you save on going to Mitchell let you do more, like, for the next couple of weeks, or does that extra point to you not matter?
No, 37. I'm kind of, unless someone's ankle ligaments go in 37. Yeah, 36. I'm kind of 37. I just want to.
Injuries happen in FPL. Like, you can tell how lucky your season's been. As soon as one bad thing happens, you just can't get over it. You've mentioned it about 10 times so far.
It's killed my game week. It's killed my FPL. It's almost killed my 1K dream, and just can't.
Is that why you were saying you didn't get any sleep last night? Just thinking of why ligaments popping.
Yeah, pretty much that. So yeah, I probably will go the Leeds defense, just because if I do pick up an injury in 36, well, one of my players do, at least that gives me potential to play the Leeds defender in 37 as well.
No, I think you were right the first time when you said if I pick up an injury, because it seems like if one of your FPL players gets an injury, you take it to heart so much. It's like you.
I feel it. Yeah.
It's like you're heartbreaking. That's the injury. I think I'd probably lean towards the Leeds defender as well.
That would be a -4 hit, by the way. I just think Calvert-Lewin in the next 2, especially that Sheffield United game. I think if you don't have him, you're asking for trouble. I think potentially.
Well, we'll talk more about Calvert-Lewin compared to the other strikers in a bit. But in terms of your Project 1K stuff, do you know roughly how many points you are off the 1K?
No, but I was touching it, like I said in my intro.
With the green, it was just the Greenwood stuff.
Yeah, so if I was to hazard to guess, I'd probably say about 20 points away, probably.
Yeah. So do you think with those planned moves that's enough? Like, what are your early captain thoughts for this week?
Salah, probably. Salah or Calvert-Lewin. Maybe I might have to go Calvert-Lewin to kind of make a bit of ground.
Let's try and quickly check now how far you'd be off the top 1K. So are there any? While I'm checking that, are there any other players that you've got in mind, or is that like set? I guess Chris Wood.
No, the only other one would be Iheanacho to Bamford or Antonio. I don't really want to do Antonio because I've already got Lingard, and West Ham last couple of games don't look as good going forward. So if I brought in if you had 2 West Ham forwards, you're kind of asking them to kind of kickstart again.
Kickstart again? Isn't that like an example song or something?
What, love kickstarts again? Example, yeah.
Don't know why that reminded me of that. Anyway, so I've just checked someone's team who's in the top. Is it like 900 something in the world, and they're on 2,349 points. And what's your points number?
2,320. Yeah, so I'm not too far. Wasn't too far away in prediction. So about
25 points, something like that, probably. So yeah, like if you did the sort of safe captain of Salah, I'd just bring in Calvert-Lewin and that budget defender. Do you think you're doing enough to make the ground that you're trying to gain?
Well, it's all that Calvert-Lewin's almost. I don't want to drift further away from that 1K. Because I think the next two, I think he looks brilliant, especially if he scores again against Aston Villa. Obviously, that'd be detriment to me, but I think he's going to be a guy that's back in form. We know how good he was at the start of the season, and before this week, his XG and big chances in the box, he was leading them all, so it was no surprise to see him score. I kind of just want to stick close enough to the 1K, like touching distance. If I can get to within about 10 points going into 38 with 2 transfers, then I think I probably will do a bit ballsy in the last day, maybe captain Aguero or something like that. But I think this week, I know what you mean. Like you should potentially go a bit more risky, but I think it's just a case of kind of trying to hold on.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of because Calvert-Lewin's ownership's still pretty decent. Let's have a quick look. I think,
but he could feasibly get 2 or 3 goals against Sheffield United. It wouldn't surprise you, would it? Isn't he a Sheffield Wednesday fan as well?
I'm not sure on that. So he's 30% owned, which will probably go up before the weekend as well. Yeah, well, I was just trying to see if I can tempt you out of that missionary position, but I can see you're losing your erection just at the thought of it. It's not going to work, is it? Any first time listeners be wondering what on earth we're talking about now. But yeah, so is that the end of your game review there?
Yeah, that's the end.
Cool. Right. So moving on to my team, I'm on 87 points currently. A lot of the same players as Callum's, I guess. I won't go through everything, but yeah, Greenwood's probably one of the players that I have different. 18 points so far. He's come through this week finally after I got him for Son a few game weeks ago, which didn't look too smart a transfer until now. I've not properly worked it out, but I think maybe I'm just a bit up on that transfer now because Son has been ticking over as well. And then my transfer actually for the week was Luca Dean in for Alonso, which was a little bit annoying when Alonso scored, but for the next few, I want to have. I'm quite happy to have Luca Dean. He's got one.
Are you blaming me for that, or what? Or are you going to do that anyway?
Yeah, that one I was going to do anyway. It's more the Dallas thing which I regret. I don't think Alonso was going to stay on my team either way. He would have gone for Maguire or Luca Dean. That was kind of what I was weighing up during the week. So yeah, no blame for you on that one. You can put your victim complex to one side.
Thanks
for now. And yeah, I think the rest of my team is the same as yours pretty much. The only other thing to mention mainly is that I guess did you touch on Forster's points? Because that's a funny situation. Like he's saved a pen as well, but we don't know if he's going to start next week, which is really annoying. So me and you,
I need him to start really because I'm pretty reluctant to transfer the keeper out, but
yeah, that's the thing. Like, so what I was saying there with how precious the transfers are now. It's so annoying to have to think about doing a goalkeeper transfer. The other thing is that the way that Tuchel's been, and if he gets a call from a technical director saying, we need to add a bit more onto Kepa's transfer value for the summer, will he give Mendy one of the games towards it? Not Mendy. Will he give Kepa a game over Mendy? Like if top 4 is wrapped up. So it's a very annoying situation now. But I think I'm just going to chance it and leave it because I want to save my transfers for the outfield players. My rank. So I had a big drop after last week with the cancellation of the United Liverpool game, having 5 players in that, which took me down to 45k. But now with the triple game week and Greenwood, back up to 31k, which is where I was game week 32, game week 33 time. So top 20k is back on, I think.
10k is back on, isn't it?
10k. Well, it depends. Depends what sex position I'm going in, doesn't it? The safe transfers for me, the missionary transfers are Son and Calvert-Lewin in, because Son's been sort of just annoyed, like getting him out, trying to be aggressive a few weeks ago did not work for me. He's just sort of performed consistently well. It's just a bit annoying with Tottenham, isn't it? Like you don't know each week which one's going to turn up. They're
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, Bale and Son. It's tricky.
Bale especially.
I think Bale will play every game now, and there's rumours that he's re-signing for another year, which surprised me a bit. But yeah,
I guess Real Madrid can't afford to take his wages back on, given their peril. But yeah, I'm getting sidetracked. So yeah, that was my game week there. But yeah, could still change quite a bit with what happens tomorrow. I don't know how many minutes Greenwood will get tomorrow. I'll probably get might just get a substitute appearance tomorrow off the bench. But he can score off the bench, so fingers crossed. Should we move on?
Yeah, so the first topic is what a lot of people are going to be probably wondering this week: who to get in for Iheanacho. Do you keep him or do you kind of get rid? And I'm very much in the position where, thanks for what you've done for us, Iheanacho, the past few weeks, but with those last two fixtures, Chelsea and Spurs, especially we know how good Chelsea's defence is, and then Spurs last game of the season. And if Liverpool win all the games and Leicester have still got to win that game, I think it'll be a cagey affair. I don't think it'll be like a free scoring game. So I think it's the time to cut your cloth. And there's a lot of good forward options for his like similar price now. Obviously forward's not been a great spot all season, but you got Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, Bamford, and Wood, who we're going to talk about. So for me, I'm pretty much in the sell bracket, and one of those four, kind of take your pick, really. I'm going Calvert-Lewin personally, but I could see positives to all four of them.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting rid of Iheanacho this week as well, for the reasons you've said, basically. And yeah, the emergence of those players means that it's kind of a no-brainer to address Iheanacho this week while you've got a blank.
Yeah, because the other players that you'll have that are blanking, Chelsea, well, maybe not so much Chelsea, but United, and yeah, they've got good fixtures after that, whereas Leicester don't. So that makes me more want to get rid of the Leicester players over them.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to quickly mention, just in terms of rank, try and like rank the replacement options. Like, what would you? So obviously for you, Calvert-Lewin's top, and then where would?
Yeah, if I didn't have Lingard, then it would probably be a toss-up between Antonio and Bamford. But because I do have Lingard, it would probably be Bamford number 2, Antonio 3, and then Wood 4. I know you talked Wood's in great form, but I think the next two are Leeds and Liverpool, so they're still quite tricky. More Woods in my radar just because of the last game, Sheffield United at home. And if you're getting Calvert-Lewin, that is such an obvious kind of switch the last game of the season, especially you got 2 transfers available.
Yeah, I think the Wood versus Calvert-Lewin thing, it's a bit of a fixtures versus form thing, isn't it? Because on the stats and like on the eye test, Wood definitely looks better. 12 shots on target for Wood of the last 6, whereas Calvert-Lewin's had 6, which is half as many. It's just the Sheffield United factor this weekend, isn't it? That means that Calvert-Lewin stands out a lot more. We've sort of said with Calvert-Lewin all season, he's rarely a player that's going to get double digits, but game against Sheffield United as well, that could all change.
Yep.
Does his quite low number of shots though, like the amount of chances he's getting, does that bother you at all? I guess that would put you off captaining him, maybe.
Yeah, potentially, but he's putting away that low volume of shots, and Sheffield United, obviously, they're bottom of all shots conceded, kind of, especially over the last 6. So you kind of expect him to get more shots that week. So he's still quite clinical. It's just that Everton don't create too much for him, whereas that game they could do. So, for me, that fixture, I just don't think you can look beyond it, really.
Fair play. For me, it's a bit closer between Wood and Calvert-Lewin. I'm a little bit because the other thing is that with what you're saying, you're kind of booking in a transfer for the last game week.
Yeah. It depends how well your team looks, because I'd look at my team in 37, unless I get a bad amount of injuries, I can probably get through that game week without making transfers, and then 38 I'll have 2. But yeah, if your team needs transfers 37, 38, like you say, you're booking over transfers in that you might not necessarily want to do.
So yeah, one of the things that appeals with Wood in that sense is that you're getting him in and you can just leave him for the last 3. And you can maybe do something else. Like,
yeah, he does face Liverpool though. Whether you think, well, Liverpool isn't the most daunting game,
is like, I don't know if we'll find out tomorrow whether Kabak's back, but Reece Williams he played in defence the last game, didn't he? And that never inspires confidence for them. I think Wood versus Reece Williams would be.
Phillips.
I'd fancy the big New Zealander against those two, to be honest. So yeah, I don't know. As I say, it's a form versus fixtures one, kind of on Wood. I think
it's definitely those 4. It's just, you can make an argument for any one of them, really.
But it's interesting that on terms of those expected goal involvement stats and shot numbers, Bamford's actually nowhere to be seen. All right, in the table I'm looking at, Bamford's not even on there. I think one of the things you may be banking on if you're going for Bamford is Rafinha's back and Leeds' creativity goes up like infinitely. Well, not infinitely, but loads when Rafinha's playing. So yeah, I'd have Bamford bottom of the sort of pool. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. I just think he obviously scored that game against Spurs at the weekend, and they do have 3 great fixtures: Burnley, Southampton, West Brom. So it's another one in it for more fixtures. But he's got a goal at the weekend, so he's going to come into it with a bit of confidence. The only thing that might count against him is Rodrigo's back, isn't he? I know he's come on from a few times in the past few weeks, so he's come back from quite a long injury layoff. So yeah, that'll be one to keep an eye on, because with Leeds safe now, and they've almost cemented the top 10. I don't think they need too many points. Bielsa might start to experiment for next season. He strikes me as the kind of guy who'll go to the end, but you never know. The last few game weeks, he might get a bit of a rest.
Well, one thing we've not mentioned is of these lot, you'd say like Antonio, in terms of West Ham, they've got the most to play for. So in terms of motivation factor, like Antonio's probably got that edge slightly. West Ham are still going for something. Are Everton still like Ancelotti? I heard him say after the game that he told his players, like, if you don't win this game, then European hopes are over. So they're still.
I mean, they're only 3 points off West Ham, and they've still got a game in hand over him. So yeah, they're right back in it if they beat Villa.
So yeah, actually, that's probably another factor in Calvert-Lewin's favour. So yeah, I guess if I was ranking, I'd go Calvert-Lewin, Wood, then Antonio, then Bamford. Is that
yeah, fair enough.
Is that it for that section?
Yeah, I think we've got across what we need to.
Cool. What's next?
Bruno, keep or sell, and Maguire. Well, sell, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. The Bruno kind of dilemma for the weekend. I think if you've got a lot of value tied up in him, which I have, I think I'll lose about 0.5 million if I got rid. Then I think it's an easy keep, just because. I mean, you can make the argument about City players that we're kind of going to talk about, but there's not too many like premium assets doing that great. And he got a penalty. I know he's still not doing too much, but Ollie strikes me as the kind of guy who Bruno's not going to get a rest. The last game he might get a bit of a rest because obviously the Europa League on the Wednesday following, but Bruno's still so critical to how they play. So I know they're not going to play 36, but 37, I definitely fancy him to play. And that Fulham game at home with Fulham down, he's almost like the standout captaincy candidate there, isn't he? So for me, it's probably a keep, Bruno, but I can see people who got twitchy fingers who want to, maybe if you need to make up a bit of ground, you kind of want to get Mane in, or you can kind of get a City player in, because I think Pep will continue to play his players. I've seen a few people on Twitter saying the big players aren't going to play now to Champions League, and that's just the biggest load of bollocks ever. Like, why is he's not going to rest a player for three weeks? Like, Pep's all about rhythm and getting that rhythm going. So I actually think in one of the games he might play his best team for the Champions League just to try and get them playing together. But over the course of the 3 weeks, I think they'll all get plenty of game time. So I won't put you off getting a midfielder in like Mahrez or a Foden. I actually watched FPL Wire before, and Newcastle's right it had a really niche stat, Big Backer, and it was like Newcastle's right hand side, like the worst in the Premier League. Like, they offer up so many chances. So Foden's probably a good shout if you wanted to get someone in for the Friday game against Newcastle.
Yeah, it's just whether he starts or not, isn't it? I think
he didn't start the last game at Chelsea, so
he came on, didn't he?
Yeah.
I like in terms of the City midfielder, Mahrez is actually, like, I think on that same podcast they said Mahrez either plays or he doesn't, so you don't risk like the annoying 1-pointer. Whereas Foden often does come on from the bench, which, I mean, he can get points from the bench, but it's just something to consider.
Yeah, it's quite. Like, probably sees Foden as a player who can make more of an impact, whereas Mahrez kind of grinds down the fullback, doesn't he? So yeah, I could probably see merit to
that. What was I going to say? So you made a case for Bruno, I guess. To play devil's
you the antagonist.
So he blanks 36. He'll play 37 last game, like home game, in front of the fans. Thinking, but then 38, which is 3 days before the Europa League final, 3 or 4 days. When is the Europa League final?
Wednesday. Wednesday.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play that game.
He won't come on either.
I just think, having seen what's happened to Maguire, is he gonna 3 or 4 days before the biggest game of the season take that unnecessary chance in a game that probably won't mean anything on the last day of the Premier League season? Will he chance Bruno in that game, given what's just happened to Maguire? It's just a ramification.
It's a tricky one. And rotation's obviously been a big talking point all season, but United haven't rotated at all, and they've played Sunday, Thursday every week. I know he's obviously going to be sceptical about with Maguire getting injured. He might very well be rested, but all season, he's not been a kind of guy to rotate, has he? He almost like the rhythm for the players is a lot better.
He definitely won't get 90 in that game.
Yeah.
I think,
is he still going for Golden Boot? How far off is he? Is he too far away?
I think he's 2 assists off Harry Kane for top assist thing. So I mean, maybe if he gets an assist tomorrow, he'll be like trying to. I don't know.
4 goals off Golden Boot, so yeah, he'd have to get a couple before. Because Harry Kane would have to not score, but if Bruno got a hat trick between now and 38 and he's a goal away, you'd fancy him to play. But yeah, it's obviously to make that 4 goal gap in 2 weeks isn't going to happen.
Yeah. So I think one way that I'd maybe look at it is over 36, 37, 38, Bruno is probably going to get, like, using what we're kind of saying, a game and a half. Whereas someone like Son or Mane or something will get 270 minutes, three whole games. I think that's one of the way to look at it. But I think, as you say, it does depend on who you want to captain in 37. If you want to captain Bruno against Fulham, relegated Fulham, yeah, it's worth holding on to him. But if you've got someone else you could captain and you fancy playing the extra minutes with a Son or a Mane, or maybe you want to bring in Rafinha and upgrade somewhere else, upgrade when you like people who might not have Kane might want to do that. They might want to do Bruno to Rafinha and then Iheanacho to Kane, because Kane's a captaincy shout as well this week. So I think there is an argument to get rid of Bruno this week. Team depends on your team and what you want to do with your captains and stuff. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So if you can't tell, I'm thinking about getting rid of him.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Like I say, the other thing that's kind of the main thing that's swaying me is that 37, because I think he's a stick-on captain in if you've still got him. So
yeah, well, we'll talk about the captains for the next few towards the end, won't we? We've got that coming up in the running order, I think.
Yeah, so we'll move on to the keepers, which is years gone by. If you told me a keeper rotation would be one of my worries of FPL, I'd say no chance. But this past few weeks kind of been a bit weird, just because if you played your wild card like 5 or 6 game weeks ago, which what we did, Mendy and Forster was the main shout, because they're like, oh, they've got great fixtures, rotate well, both going to play. Forster's merged as like number one now, and now since that they've both been kind of rotated. Hasenhüttl said that McCarthy will play towards the end of the season. The keepers will be rotated. So that, and 36 Mendy blanks, and obviously he's got his Kepa worries as well. So 36, I'm going to try and, because I've got other transfers to make, hopefully that penalty save might have helped Forster a bit, and he might get another game. And it's Fulham as well, which on paper is a great fixture. So if he doesn't play then, and they keep a clean sheet, you'd be gutted. But yeah, obviously the Henderson's another one who that triple game week looked good, but De Gea was obviously given the game last night. He'll be back for the Liverpool game, but will he be getting all the Premier League games? Because you touched on rotation there. So yeah, it's what do you do really? Do you bring in like a Meslier for the last 3 or something like that?
Well, yeah, that's one option. The other option, if you're short on money and you're trying to, make sure you've got loads of money in the bank to play with for the rest of the season, and just to make sure you've got a keeper playing for the rest of the season, is have Forster and McCarthy.
Yeah.
One of them's going to play.
At least then you don't have to worry about, someone getting last game. Tom Eaton getting the last game for Villa or something.
So yeah, it's one thing I'm going to be looking out for. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I hope one of the journalists asks Tuchel about his plans for the keep, because in previous weeks when he's been asked about what he's doing with the keepers, he's kind of just said which keeper's going to play, hasn't he? So I hope someone in the press conference asks him,
what week's this for? This weekend?
Well, no, just for the rest of the season,
All right, before this deadline, because you're probably not going to get the answer because it'll be an FA Cup press conference, won't it? So it probably won't help you this week.
Yeah, no, probably not. Because that is just something that could happen. With Kepa's come in 2 different times already this season, so yeah.
I think it probably depends on. I'll be very surprised if Mendy doesn't get the game tomorrow night. Tonight, sorry. Against Arsenal, just because if they win that, they pretty much cement top 4, don't they? Unless any ridiculous results. But then after that, it's probably the last 2 games of the season where you're probably a bit worried, especially the last game. If they've got top 4 and the last game, probably will see Kepa play. If I was to bet on it, and Chelsea already got top 4, I probably would be betting on Kepa starting, which would be a bit of a shitter.
So then when you look at it like that, you've got this week where you might have no keeper with the Forster Mendy pairing, and maybe another week if it's McCarthy and Kepa. So then it's 2 weeks with no keeper potentially, which is annoying. It makes the thing hard. If that scenario plays out like that, then the -4 to get in a keeper with 3 good games then does look worth it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That's another thing I wanted to touch on, actually. I forgot to add it to the running order.
I don't have the money to do Mendy to McCarthy and Iheanacho to Calvert-Lewin. So yeah, it's an interesting point.
For teams that are struggling this week, like maybe they've only got 7 or 8, or something like even less. Like, I think in certain cases you've got to look at it like, I don't know what your approach to the hits is, but you should look at it like, is the -4 for that player in isolation worth it? Rather than being like, oh well, I'm taking a -12 this week. Like, you should look at it like, you should look at each player in isolation. Like, is that player over the next 3? Have they got a chance to gain more points than the player I'm taking out by a 4-point margin? And like, look at it like that. So that's what I'm trying to do with the keeper. Like, so if I took a -4 to get a playing keeper in, which would take me then to a -8 for the week, I'm not really looking at it. I'm looking at it as a -4 in isolation. It's not like a -8, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to just like, because each player, you just want each player to outperform by 4 points, the player you're getting rid of. Whether that's turns out to be a -8 or a -12 in total for that week with all the transfers you're making is kind of irrelevant. So yeah, for teams that are struggling to get players out, I'd encourage them to look at it like that. Like, for example, if you're getting in Dallas or something, 3 good games, that -4 would probably be worth it for Maguire, for example.
Yeah. I do think Mendy will play that Leicester game, the FA Cup and then the Premier League. But then, 38 would be tricky because I think I'm looking at the fixture now. If Chelsea beat Arsenal, then beat Leicester, I think that means they finish 3rd, which is 3rd more of an incentive than 4th. I don't know if there's like a qualifying round these days, so that might be a potential. But yeah, if they get top 3, especially by the last game week, it'd be carnage, won't it?
So yeah, that's just another factor to think about over the next 24 to 48 hours.
City, yeah. Should we talk next about the mighty Man City? City title winners 2021.
That sounded as loud as the scenes outside the ground last night.
I know we've obviously won the title, but you can't really take it away from United getting Edison Cavani to sign a new contract, new song, 9 goals, new contract. So we've probably had similar seasons, really, haven't we? I've just seen on me and my brother been razzing that because what's this obsession about? And he's been praised if he's like Cantona. What's going on there?
Well,
he's had a good last few games, but anyway, let's.
I think it's just going for like 2.5 seasons. Well, not 2.5, a season and a half without a striker that does the sort of stuff that Cavani does, like run into the front post, run into the back post. Like, it seems so much more impressive. Like, when you've not had a player doing that. Like,
all right, I best not piss off any more United fans. If we've got any still listening to the podcast, yeah. So City and Aguero. Obviously, I was all over Aguero last week. Before his penalty Panenka miss, and then we lost the game, and then obviously United beat Villa, and that put me off because if United beat Leicester and then beat Liverpool, I think Pep would have disowned Aguero completely for that Newcastle game and just got the win out, because it's almost as if, I know you can't really say it was a selfish act because he's our best ever scorer of all time, but it's almost as if he wanted to leave City with kind of a bit of style. Then he wouldn't have done that any other season. I don't know what he was doing, but yeah, I think Pep would have took him away from the team for that. I think he will get the last game of the season, 38 in front of the fans. That's for certain. But 36 and 37 might get an appearance off the bench. He might not start either game, but it's kind of put me off until 38 now. The Aguero shout. The other ones, obviously talked about Mahrez there.
What if Pep says Aguero is starting at the presser tomorrow?
Does he ever say that?
I mean, now the
Late Riser was saying
now the title's wrapped up. I mean, why wouldn't he like just answer the question honestly? What's he trying to hide?
Yeah, it's fair enough. He's not just got to keep Aguero happy though, has he? He's got we've got players competing for the Champions League finals positions, but we've also got players like Jesus and Torres who've probably deserved to play a few of these last Premier League games to try and not try and get in the starting 11, but kind of be the ones who are going to come off the bench and make a difference in that Champions League final. So I don't think it'll be all out. Let's feed Aguero. I think the last game will be, but the Newcastle game will be interesting. I'm definitely not going to bring him in for that game now. Whereas I was on the last week podcast, I was all over it. Whereas now that's probably distanced myself from it. The defense have probably
Newcastle, right? They're in terms of expected goals conceded over the last 6, they're higher than Sheffield by 2 goals.
Yeah, but I just don't think he's gonna. If I was gonna go City this week, it would probably be Mahrez or Foden. But
Right.
I'm kind of happy with my midfield. It would mean me taking Bruno out, which I'm kind of reluctant to do. So yeah, if I was advocating a City play this week, it would probably be Mahrez or Foden. I think Kev had a slight injury after the Champions League, so he might be one who's kind of not rested, but kind of just played because he's the one that really don't want to get injured. So he might just get 50, 60 minutes. Whereas Mahrez might get 90 against Newcastle and then 90 the next game and then not play 38. So yeah, I think Mahrez and Foden are probably the two.
Yeah, fair play. I just wanted to mention those Newcastle defensive stats because second worst team for second worst defense going by those numbers in the league, which is kind of what makes it so tempting to consider a City player this week.
If you keep a dilemma, have you got money in the bank? Would you go Edison or not?
How much is Edison?
Is he about 6 mil?
6.1. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to afford. I have got money in the bank, but then I wouldn't be able to afford Iheanacho to the replacement striker if I did that. So
right,
yeah.
I mean, you're always a bit reluctant to go for an expensive, but I just thought City could easily get 3 clean sheets the last 3, and Edison's so critical to how we play. I don't think Stefan might get the last game. Yeah, maybe it's true. I don't know. I don't think he will though. I think Edison will get every game.
So right, so you've gone floppy on Sergio, basically. That's this section.
Yeah, it's probably that is pretty much. I was very much stiff last week for Sergio, but gone a bit floppy this week. I just think Pep looked so pissed off after that game. It's probably helped that we've won the title, but if we hadn't won the title by Friday, he definitely wouldn't have played. Maybe he might go a bit soft now, but I just think if he's trying to get a team going in its rhythm for the Champions League final, if Sergio's trying to make it all about him, which is probably a bit harsh, but that act in itself, he wouldn't have done any other season if he was first 11. That was definitely in his head. I want this to be my lasting image at City. So
well,
yeah.
I mean, at least it sounds like it'll be hard for the end of the season with Wood Gameweek 38.
Yeah, Wood and Aguero. I'm going to go all in boner. You're just tempted, aren't you, to get him in for that last game? I know everyone had David Silva in last year. Everyone will have Fernandinho in next year. So
yeah, it's always a funny one. The last game of the season. I remember the week when was it Lukaku was his last game week of the season. Like West Brom were playing United, and Lukaku was benched, and then he comes on second half and gets hat-trick, and it was like I think it was like Ferguson's last game in charge as well. So yeah, weird things happen on the final day. It's going to be a hard one to talk about that one, but yeah.
My advice there is keep 2 transfers for the last game of the season if you want to have a bit of fun. Obviously, 37 you need to make a transfer, then fair enough. But I think 38 you cannot. I always try and have 2 transfers for that, just so I can kind of. If you want to have a bit of fun, it's 1 week, isn't it? Like you're not building a team for any other game week than that one. So yeah, my advice is if you can keep 2 transfers, try and make it a bit of fun last game.
Well, that'll be interesting for listeners hearing that you actually try and have fun with your transfers. Last section, premium, the captains for the next 3. So we've kind of talked about it all throughout the podcast, but yeah. So it sounds like you're on Calvert-Lewin this week, Bruno next week, and then
either Calvert-Lewin or Salah. Yeah, Salah would be if I'm going missionary, which I have done all season. So it would take a leap out of my book to do Calvert-Lewin. But potentially, Bruno stick on 37, and then 38 probably would be Sergio if I brought him in. If I got a bit soft and hard for Sergio,
for this week,
Salah Palace.
For this week, does Kane or Son enter the thinking at all for the captain this week?
I know Wolves are shit, but Spurs are shit, and I think, well, especially after that Leeds game,
Kane hit the bar and he had like, I don't know if you saw the VAR.
Yeah, the offside, millimeters, yeah.
That could have so easily been a goal. So, like the whole narrative would be different, wouldn't it, if Kane had 6-7 points from that? Like, if he'd had that goal, I just think
is having Kane and Son a differential in itself or not? That many people on both.
Having both, probably having both of them is probably a differential, yeah. But I think
that's what I mean. If they do shit, then you've kind of two players there gone. But yeah, it's just one thing I was thinking of is kind of in the sort of Kane versus Salah debate. You've got the two players there going for the Golden Boot, but you'd probably say that Liverpool have more riding on the end of the season. Well, they definitely have more riding on the end of the season than Tottenham, don't they? So as a team, I think Liverpool will be more on it. Yeah, the only thing that might go against that, actually, if Liverpool get beat off United tomorrow, right, they're suddenly 7 points away with 3 games left. That might kill them, like, mentally. So yeah, that might be a swayer for Kane. That if Liverpool beat United, then you're all over Salah because they're hunting down Leicester there. Leicester's last 2 are really tricky. So I think Liverpool will fancy themselves to win the last 4 to get top 4. Yeah, it is an interesting one, that as well, because depending on the game, the state of play after the game tomorrow, we'll learn a lot from that, won't we? As you just said. Because if Salah scores and Liverpool win, then that's him firing in it for the weekend. Whereas if they get beat 2-3-0, they'll have the wind really took out of them. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm not sure of the permutations, whether that would mean what that would mean in terms of top 4 still being possible. It'd be 7 points with 3 games, which would be so you kind of really, they're reliant on Chelsea and Newcastle, Chelsea and Leicester losing every game, which that's asking a lot. Because I think Chelsea have to play Leicester, don't they, as well? So yeah. So if that happened, then would you sway towards Calvert-Lewin? Or Kane? I think if Liverpool are bad against United and lose 2 or 3-0, then that might be enough for me to go to Calvert-Lewin or Kane. Yeah, it's interesting that there's so much to think about. Again, I just feel like there's been no. I can't remember a week where it's been easy to know what to do. Like, I swear, like, as I said last week, to anyone who's playing for FPL for the first time this year, this isn't what it's normally like. You don't get random triple game weeks and fixtures being moved randomly and all that kind of shit in normal seasons. Next season's going to feel so easy compared to this one. I hope, anyway. Yeah, definitely. I think for me, though, my transfer, the Maguire's injury and the Iheanacho, it's kind of made it easy for me this week. So I'm not too troubled this week. The only tricky is 4.4, but I think you've cemented in my mind that Leeds double defence is probably the way to go. Yeah, but and there's the, you're gonna have to have a little think if Liverpool lose tomorrow about your captain. But yeah, the captain's probably a big one. Yeah. But I think that's it for this week. Anything else to mention from yourself? No, we've not plugged. Good luck. Hopefully, we can get another podcast in potentially on Monday or something for the midweek. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, definitely. Just to quickly plug the socials and stuff. So subscribe on whatever platform you're on. We have a forfeit coming. Oh yeah. Yeah. God, that's just, I completely forgot about. I need to edit that still. Completely forgot about that. Someone's had a big bank holiday. He said, I'll do it over bank holiday weekend. No. Probably all them Guinnesses you had. You probably forgot. Well, yeah, cheers for the reminder.
supposed to be part of being a team. It's supposed to be little nudge would have been nice. But anyway, let's not air our dirty laundry on the podcast.
I thought you would have just been staring at the video. That's what took you so long.
And then our Twitter account, where said forfeit video will be being published, premium_FPL. So yeah, follow us, like all of our stuff, and see you hopefully next week for
the running. Yeah,
the
last
running.
2. The fans are back.
Fans are back. Yeah. But yeah, good luck for this week. I hope your keeper plays and your captain does submit. And let's hope that Callum gets an injury like Maguire.
It's not very nice, is it?
All right. See you next week.
But